It is just wonderful to be with you today. I remember my first conference of young leaders 5 years ago, and it changed my life just to experience the power and potential of all of you young leaders in one room, gathered from all over the world. And now we're able to do it virtually. And it's amazing that we have this global edition of the Conference of Young Leaders, and that we have Brazil and the continent of Africa represented today with us. Thank you, Alexis. Thank you, Alfred. It's wonderful to see you again. We're grateful for your leadership there in Kenya, and we're just grateful to have leaders like you in the YouthBuild network. As Alexis said, my name is John Valverde, and I'm president and CEO of YouthBuild USA. And we're the headquarters for about 300 YouthBuild programs around the world. We've been in as many as 23 countries over the last 40 years as YouthBuild, contributing to the leadership of young people. And we're so proud to be able to say that and be with you and stand with you in such a powerful way. And I'm greeting you today from Costa Rica. Usually I'm based at our headquarters in Boston, in Massachusetts. But I'm here with my family in Costa Rica, and I'm so happy to be able to connect with you. A few years ago, I don't think the Wi-Fi would have been strong enough for me to be able to connect by video from here. So it just means a lot to be able to be with you. And I bring you greetings from the entire global YouthBuild movement. We want you to know that we're standing with you and celebrating with you today. If you were chosen to be part of this conference of young leaders, it's because people already see the power and potential that you have to make a difference in the world. And we're proud to be here with you. And we know the last couple of years, or at least the last 18 months, have not been easy. And it's not easy to be in YouthBuild and successful in YouthBuild under normal circumstances. It's a challenge, and it should be a challenge, right? And you all can meet that challenge. But during COVID and this pandemic, it has been even harder. And we know that. So we know the struggles that you have endured to be here with us today. And we admire the commitment it took for you to make it here and be here with us today. The world needs your example. We absolutely need your example. And it's so important that you keep in front of you, in your mind, all that you have already overcome. You are stronger, more resilient, more courageous than the average person. And you being here today is evidence of that. So again, we're super honored to be with you, because the YouthBuild movement and YouthBuild is about all of you. That's why we're here. That's why it matters. That's why we want to contribute to your lives, because you contribute to our lives and you can change the world. We've always believed that you are the leaders of today and of tomorrow. And we know that you have gifts and talents and intellect. You have everything you need to succeed. Sometimes all you need is the opportunity. And that's our commitment, to create those opportunities in partnership with you so that we can change the world together. What I love about YouthBuild is that we're more than just a workforce program or an education program. We're about lifelong learning so that your leadership can have a ripple effect everywhere throughout the world. And we see it over and over and over again. And Lex mentioned this when we got started. I've heard stories where CoYL was the life-changing, defining moment of a young leader's life. Something happens at this conference of young leaders. So trust it, embrace it, engage these 4 days, dive in head first. Know that this is a safe place for you to become the next greatest version of yourself. Be brave, be courageous, bring that resiliency to these 4 days, and we guarantee that you're going to get a ton out of this. Just a little bit about me before I turn it over to Matt Clerico. I'm so excited to have a conversation with him that I know will be meaningful for all of you. But again, some of you may know my background. I was raised by a single mom in New York City. We struggled to make ends meet. You know, we bounced around a lot, lived in people's basements and rooms in their
Yeah,
homes,
this is
in
John
their
Valverde.
apartment.
Right.
And so it was a challenge that we had to overcome. But I felt grateful to have my brother, and me, my brother, and my mom. We were the three musketeers struggling to make it through life, and we did. You know, I'm the first in my family to go to college. I'm also the first in my family born in the United States. As I said earlier, my family's from Costa Rica. And I made it all the way to college, overcoming all the challenges as a young person. And then I made a terrible decision when I was 20 years old. And that decision resulted in me going to prison for 16 years. I spent most of my 20s and most of my 30s incarcerated in prisons in New York. And I have to say to all of you, when I first went to prison, I thought my life was over. I never thought that I would survive a week, let alone 16 years. But people believed in me and stood by me and saw something in me before I could even see it in myself. And today, I'm a CEO of a nonprofit with a global mission. So I want you to know, don't ever, ever let anyone tell you that you can't achieve your dreams and your goals. Anything is possible for you. And maybe this Conference of Young Leaders is the place where you start to really, really believe that. And again, I'm so excited to be here with you and wanted to share just a little bit about myself before we got into a conversation with Matt Clerico. I'd like to turn it over to Matt so that he can introduce himself to all of us.
Sure. Thank you, John. And thank you for asking me to be part of this. Before I tell you a little bit about myself, I also wanted to thank the CoYL planning team and our incredible alumni network. I see some great people online that I've known for years. And yeah, it's a shame we can't do this in person, but I'm glad you guys didn't let this opportunity slip by because this event is so important. So yeah, my name is Matt Clerico. I'm one of the AmeriCorps portfolio managers at YouthBuild USA. That means I work with 20 programs across the country, helping them do what they do for you better. And my career started in 1996. I was a participant of the Albany Service Corps, which would become Albany YouthBuild a little bit later when we got the rights to the name, when we got funding through the Office of Housing and Urban Development. And yeah, so even though we weren't called YouthBuild, you know, we were very much based on Dorothy Stoneman's model. You know, we had mental toughness. We did PT in the morning. You know, they provided me with counseling and education. And yeah, you know, I was a 23 years old, an angry young man, and didn't have a lot of direction in my life. And thank God there were people at that program that saw through that armor and took the chance on me and gave me an opportunity. And yeah, here I am today, almost 25 years later, working for John at the main office. And I couldn't be happier to have this career of, you know, helping those that help you. And yeah, thanks again for having me today.
Excellent. Thank you for your years and years of service and commitment to YouthBuild. You're just such a powerful example to all of us, and we continue to be inspired by your commitment to the movement. Yeah, I'd love to have a conversation with you, Matt. As you know, this particular Conference of Young Leaders, the theme is equity in service. And on Thursday, we're going to hear some amazing presentations from these young leaders, the solutionaries that they are. They're not just revolutionaries, right? They're solutionaries, and they're going to come up with the solutions for the biggest challenges in their communities. And I know you feel the same way I do, that these young leaders who are with us today here at this conference of young leaders are heroes. You are essential workers. You're the heroes on the front line. You're the lived experience that can make the most difference in your communities. And Youth Build is about second chances. So big themes in Youth Build include wanting to help, wanting to make a difference, wanting to pay it forward, wanting to give your service to transform your life, your family's life, and the life of your community. Matt, I'd love to hear a little bit around your thoughts around what does it mean to you to be a helper?
So, yeah, I think it's about building community, right? There was a time when, neighborhoods used to look out for each other and people would help raise each other's children and keep an eye on them. And I feel like we've lost a lot of that in this country, and I think some of the older generations have kind of lost sight of that. And, so many forces want to divide us along racial lines or gender lines or sexual preference lines. But when you take the chance to connect with people and serve with people and do for others, you get that sense that we're all the same people. We all have the same things we want to get out of life. And I really think that's it. It's all about connecting and building that sense of core, that sense of community, shared humanity, like Sean is saying in the chat. Again, I feel like there are a lot of sectors of our community and our country and our world that have lost that, but we get that, and your generation gets that. And it's that's what it feels like to me.
Yeah, that's great. If I can add a few thoughts, I remember years ago, people didn't like the word help or helper, right? They said, look, I don't need your help. I just need an opportunity, or I just need a push, or I just need you to believe in me. I don't need your help. And exactly, I love what Alfred is sharing here. And Shauna, our chief of staff at YouthBuild USA, often talks about each one teach one, which is your community point, right, Matt? That we really got to stand together and be there for each other. And one thing that comes to mind is, the power of standing with people, versus just helping people. Like, it's not about me and you, Matt, or all of us kind of just fishing for people, right? It's about teaching people how to fish so that they can have the power over their own lives. And I remember, I said it earlier, we moved around a lot when I was a kid, and with my mom, but everywhere we went, she had like this 10 rules that she would hang on the door. Wherever we were, she would hang it on the door. The one that was my favorite was leave things better than you found them. If everybody, the 76 or so people in this conference right now, if every day we did one thing to leave things better than we found them, we can change the world. So I love that idea about helping and standing with and leaving things better than we found them. And the other thing that comes up for me is love. And as Matt, as you know, Youth Build is love. It's about love. It's the basis and foundation is about love, and the love that we have for young leaders. And then we build on that foundation, everything else. But I love the idea that we're also wounded healers. We've been on our own journeys. We've had our own struggles. We've had our experiences. We've fallen, but we've gotten back up. And because we're wounded healers, we're in a unique situation to be able to contribute and help and stand with others. So that really resonates for me, Matt, and the idea of bringing all that together with community is such a powerful point. So thanks for raising that too. Yeah, it's
Well, just to piggyback on what you just said too, John, I think that's one of the things that make YouthBuild members or YouthBuild alumni or anyone in this network maybe more qualified than anyone else to be part of the solution, right? Society teaches us to, look at our scars and our lived experience and be ashamed of it. But this is a place where you can wear that like a badge, right? It makes you more qualified to make your neighborhoods better, your communities better, maybe even than people that have twice the amount of education or credentials that you do, because you have that context. No one understands, like YouthBuild students, what it's like to live some of that experience. So nobody is more, nobody is better at helping make it better.
No, that's right. And Matt, you mentioned Dorothy Stoneman, our founder, and you just reminded me how important it is to say, for all of you participating in today's conference, in 1978, so we're going back 40 plus years, our founder asked young people in East Harlem in New York, if you had adult support, what would you do to transform the community? And the young leaders there said, we would take back the abandoned buildings, we would rehabilitate them, and we'd create affordable housing for our neighbors. And YouthBuild was born. So one way that I like to play on it, Matt, and I'm not sure how you think about it, but I think about youth build affordable housing for their communities. And that's where YouthBuild, the name YouthBuild, resonates the most powerfully for me. And what I want to be sure all of you leaders on this call today know is, here the basis of that story I just shared. We asked you, what would you do if you had our support? Why? Because we know that you have the solutions, because you're closest to the challenges and the problems in your community. Therefore, you're the ones that are most equipped to be able to change things and make them better for everyone. So yeah, Matt, I wanted to ask you a little bit about also your own experience being in YouthBuild, yourself, having gone through it. You mentioned, who you were back then, and and look at who you are now, and it's all part of you, and we love every part of you, your history, your journey. What has been most valuable to you in terms of those who helped you and supported you? What do you feel you got the most from them that has made a difference for you?
So I think the thing that I really appreciate most about the people who've mentored and helped me is just the longevity of those relationships, how long standing they've been. And that's something that I tell young people all the time when we travel the country and we have a chance to talk to them is, take advantage of the relationships that you're building now, not just for your social capital, though that's very important, right? Getting a job, starting a career is more than what you know. It's a lot of times who you know. But man, if you take care of those relationships and you allow them to grow, I mean, there are people that I knew back, in 1996 when I was a participant, the director of my program, some of the counselors, some of the other local directors that now, 20 years later, they're still part of my network and they're still helping me improve and challenging me to grow. And yeah, it seems like such a small thing when you're in the program and maybe I'm doing something for this nonprofit or I'm meeting with this person, but I tell you, take every advantage to show your worth to these people and demonstrate your value, because they could still be with you 20 years from now, opening doors. And yeah, I mean, that's how you grow, is again, taking advantage of those opportunities.
I can't help but think about when I was first incarcerated. I remember being 21 years old, and as I said, I thought my life was over, but there were good people around me, which is the point that I'm hearing in what you're saying, Matt. There were good people around me who saw me, heard me, sought to understand me, believed in me. As I said, even before I believed in myself, they didn't see me as broken, even though, Matt, I felt broken.
Mm.
I was full of guilt, shame. I was angry too. I didn't trust people. I didn't see a future for myself. And people still stuck by me, even though I was stubborn and I frustrated them and I didn't want to go along. They didn't give up on me. And because they didn't give up on me, I've been able to achieve goals in my life and dreams that I never imagined were possible. And if I had to say it differently, they didn't give me a handout, right? They gave me a hand up. They looked to lift me up, to put a spotlight on me, to let me shine and believe in me so I could build the confidence that I would need to be successful. So they taught me how to fish, right? That idea, they didn't just hand out, they really, really made a difference. And the idea that, we're not here to fix anyone. We're here to let people flourish and become who they were always meant to be. And that's what I love about the Conference of Young Leaders. It's a room, it's a conference of young leaders that are just ready, right there, ready to just explode with the difference that they can make in the world. So yeah, it's wonderful. I wanted to ask you a little bit, Matt, about well, this idea. You talked a little bit about lived experience and the importance of that. But there's also something that grows, like a seed that's planted and starts to grow inside each of us about giving back, about paying it forward, about equity and service to contribute to others. You and your involvement with AmeriCorps, I know you've got an AmeriCorps tattoo on you. That's your level of commitment to service. Can you tell us a little bit about your experience around what it means to give back and pay it forward?
Well, yeah, I mean, I keep thinking about something you keep touching back on, which is that old saying, right? If you give a man a fish, you feed him for a day. If you teach him how to fish, then you've made that sustainable. Now he can continue to feed himself and his family. But one thing that Dr. Elizabeth Lynn, who was one of my mentors the last 10 years or so, she used to talk about that saying, but she also add, it's great that you're giving the man a fish. It's great that you're educating that man. But did anyone take a moment and ask that man if he even eats fish? And that's what's great about YouthBuild. That's the YouthBuild way. Like you said, when Dorothy Stoneman sat down with those young people in East Harlem in 1978, it was like, what do you want? What can we do? And I think that's so important. I've been reflecting a lot about that. When it comes to being a helper, good intentions just aren't enough. You have to have that understanding. You have to have that context from the people. Their voices need to be respected. And that's something I know that you get. And it's something that's just part of the culture of this whole network. And I think that's the biggest thing is, it's great to be selfish and get a good feeling out of doing things for people around the holidays or something like that. But if you're really going to make it part of your life, you need to be able to be open to getting that feedback from the people you're helping. That's when you're really becoming a helper.
Yeah, that's so powerful, Matt. And I shared a little bit about the guilt and shame that I felt. Something that I don't talk about publicly very often. I was really, really angry as a child, and I would get into fights all the time, and I was so selfish, and I didn't care about my community. I was just angry with the world. I didn't want to be poor. I didn't want to be struggling with my mom. I didn't want to be moving around everywhere, and I just had this anger inside me. And today it's like people can't even recognize that I could have ever, been that way. And so when I think about service and paying it forward and making a difference, you know, for me, when I first got incarcerated, I reconnected with my father. I hadn't had a relationship with him. You know, I had been estranged from him. I hadn't seen him for years at that point. And I reconnected with him while I was in prison. And he said to me, say yes as much as you can to help others, and you will find purpose and meaning and be free. I was so selfish at the time, I couldn't even think about helping anyone else. I needed to survive. And what I learned was that little by little, as I started to help others, because I could read and write, a lot of the people in prison couldn't read and write. So I would help them write letters to their family, or I would help them learn how to read or do their assignments for the adult basic education classes. Little by little, what my father said to me started to come true. Mm-hmm. That if I contribute to the lives of others, if I give the gifts that I have to others, I will start to be free, even though I was in prison. And for me, that's what it means to be able to give back, that you can actually experience freedom in your life in a way that will feed you and give you skills and gifts that you never even imagined. And so, you know, absolutely, I'm with you, Matt. Like it's been transformative for me. But here I am, you know, I'm 52 now. All these years later, almost 34 years later, my father's words continue to ring true in my mind and in my heart. And my father died 15 years ago, but his spirit lives on, and his legacy lives on in me. So yeah, that's what it means to me to be able to continue to pay it forward.
Well, for sure. And I can definitely identify with that. I mean, when I was in my mid-20s, I had lost my mother, you know, one bad job, one bad relationship after another. And that was really it. Like what you're expressing is being free. I would call it gave me purpose. Like I didn't have any reason to be. And I think on a very elemental level, right, that made me angry all the time. And yeah, you know, and that feeling when you're able to do something for someone else and get that good feedback, and people are starting to see you as part of the solution and somebody worthwhile, like that was mind blowing to me. And I think that's why I'm still here all these years later.
No, it's such a great point that I've seen this so many years now doing this work. Like the community used to see us in a certain way. Mm-hmm. They used to see us maybe as the people who did harm to other people, or the people who, you know, committed crime, or the people who didn't care, or the people who, you know, dropped out, or other labels like that. And today, as you start to give back in service to others, the community starts to see you differently. Mm-hmm. And then you start to see yourself differently. And it's such an important element of leadership, and it's powerful. Yeah, I think we're starting to wrap up here and wind down this conversation. Again, so great to be with you, Matt. You know, I wanted to hear your thoughts and your own experience around, you know, what have you learned, and what do you think is learned by both giving and receiving, and especially in this space of equity and service to others?
You know, so a couple of weeks ago, I got to be part of one of these online presentations, and I heard a man speak. His name is Dr. Christopher Emdin, and I would look him up if you get a chance. He was powerful, and you know, he did a whole speech about, you know, he was the keynote speaker, and he talked a lot about service and how important it is to frame the service that you're doing with the context of what's been going on in that community, or what's been going on with those people. And one thing he said to me that I've been really thinking about a lot the last couple of weeks were, when you look back at this time the pandemic and the political upheaval and the social unrest. When your kids ask you, who were you when the world went crazy? What are you going to be able to say to them? And I think, again, it's part of all these things we're talking about, self-worth and pride and being free. You know, you're going to be able to look back on this time and say, I was YouthBuild. I was AmeriCorps. I was part of the solution. And man, that's powerful stuff. Like, not a lot of people these days can say those things, right? A lot of people are showing their true colors and showing how much they don't care about others in this time, and or trying to profit off of a bad situation, but not you, not YouthBuild, not AmeriCorps, right? We're the ones that are standing up and saying, we got you. And I think that's pretty powerful, right? That's really something to be proud of, something that you could start to build your real career off of. It's very exciting.
No, absolutely love that, Matt. Definitely, we all should look that up. And you know, I think another powerful point here is that this is a global conference.
Mm-hmm.
So what you share in these 3-4 days here together isn't just impacting your local community. It's impacting other states in the United States, but it's also traveling around the world. What you can contribute, the solutions, the wisdom, the courage that each of you possess by sharing it here in this safe space, you are potentially transforming the entire world. And, you know, at the same time, transforming yourself. So we're just super excited to be here with you and be able to welcome you to this conference. Matt, you have any last words that you'd like to share with everyone before we wrap up?
Absolutely. So to jump off of what you were saying, boss, like, you know, it's important to remember, you know, this is going to be a tough year. YouthBuild isn't easy, and service to others isn't always easy. And sometimes you're going to feel alone, or you're going to feel like, I can't do this. And you got to remember, not only do you have your team at your program, but you have an extended family across the globe, not only of current YouthBuild members and current YouthBuild staff, but alumni and people who've done this. And we all have your back, right? Like, when times seem tough, when times seem like you can't keep going, just remember that. Remember, there is a whole worldwide, you know, family behind you, and we love you, and we're proud of what you're doing. And you know, that's one of the best things about this event, is you really get to see what that's all about. So I would encourage all of you, you know, get each other's information, you know, tag each other on Facebook, whatever, because I've seen incredible friendships build out of this event, whether it's virtual or in person. I mean, there are people on this call that I absolutely love. Stephen from YouthBuild, Troy, Xavier, Alexis. I'm seeing all these great people, William Chapman, all these wonderful people that I met at CoYL, right? And they're still friends of mine to this day. So take advantage of that, because we're all here for you.
Awesome, Matt. And I'll just piggyback off of your words and say it too out loud. Like, the love that we have for all of you, it's something that maybe you can't even fully understand right now. But because we've been where you've been, we've walked the journey that you're walking on now, our love for you is true and deep. And we only want the best for you. We want to see you succeed, and we know the power and potential you have. So I wanted to be sure that you know that you know everybody here is about your success. And if you can surround yourself with people who are about your success, anything is possible for you. And then the last thing I want to say is, do the thing, gain the power. Do the thing, gain the power. Do the thing, gain the power. Take action, get the skill, gain the confidence, and you grow. Take action, gain the skill, gain the confidence, and you grow. Do the thing, gain the power. We love you. We think you're powerful beyond measure. We're so excited that you're here with us for this Conference of Young Leaders. Matt, it was awesome having this conversation with you. We hope all of you got a little something out of it, and we wish you a wonderful Conference of Young Leaders. And we are super excited to see what comes next. All right, take
Absolutely.
care, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks all.